Hi guys, I'm Jen Hensley, co-owner and effectiveness coach with Dynamics. Our goal is to support you as you are teaching online. We thought it would be a great idea to get some teachers who've been teaching online for years to share their tips and tricks. Today we're going to be talking about participation. How do you get kids to show up in an online environment?
I think when a lot of our parents start, their first day at orientation is just really overwhelming. They take a big diagnostic test, the NWEA, they get their equipment, they got all their logins and passwords, and by the time they get home, I'm like totally expecting that they're gonna forget a lot of that stuff. And we have supports for them that they can access and refresh on things. But a lot of our parents might not know, like, hey, my kid is at the computer. They are on the computer, but what are they doing? So trying to involve them, and our advisors help out a ton with that. But I try, and something I'm trying to do even more next year is to involve parents or a sibling or family member in some of the curriculum. So like for vocabulary, one of the things that I kind of fall into the trap of sometimes is, here's a Quizlet with your vocabulary words, and then take a quiz, and then that's your vocabulary instruction. So something I tried on a smaller scale this year was having the kids quiz parents on those vocabulary words and see what they know, or quiz your brother or someone. And trying to bring them into it too. And then when you call home later, hey, did you remember they asked you about these primary source vocabulary words or whatever it was? So that can help, just making sure parents are aware that they are working, what they are tasked with working. If they're not working, try to catch that and have that conversation as early as possible. The kind of the rule of thumb is you never want it to be a surprise to the parent that their kid is behind. Just staying in front of as much as possible, and going back to the first part, having those contact avenues is really important. So that way they're kind of in the loop. And for some schools, I know it's difficult because in my wife's school district, they're not all on one LMS. Like one teacher might have a different one than the social studies teacher. So kind of, again, that's a collaborative piece of, is there a common place where we can enter in this progress information? Because someone might be on Google
parents
Classroom.
Can find it.
Yeah, because memorizing like 7 different logins for 6 different classes is just like not really something we should, hopefully aren't asking of our parents and of our families. If there's one centralized place, that's good. And that's kind of one of my favorite things about online education is the report card, isn't really a thing. We do send home physical progress reports at the end of the semester. But, theoretically, every day could be a progress report, right, or report card. You can always go check it. So making sure that their support system, their learning partners know how to get to that stuff is really important.
So aside from getting the parents, how do you get the kids? Are there things you do to motivate the kids to show up?
When I think back to my first year here, a lot of the work was from a content provider. And a lot of that content was like, here's a 40-page PDF and then a 50-question quiz. Like, that's just embarrassing to think about. Like, that's not how I learn. That's not how many people learn or need to learn. So kind of chunking things as much as possible so they can kind of see a path to, hey, I am making progress. I am getting, our system gives awards out, or little badges when they do stuff. I think kind of the next thing comes with participation is letting students know that they are going to have some choice in how they're assessed or how they learn. And that's a lot easier to do strictly online. Like if a kid struggles with something, I can give them an alternate assignment. We kind of work on it together in Jigsaw or our online classroom. I think if students know they have that choice, if they see something that's intimidating, let's break it down again. Like if you're not ready to tackle that big piece, I don't want you to sit there and get frustrated or walk away, because kids will do that. Yeah. You will see kids who have started a quiz in March, and then you check on them, like, oh, it's April now, and that quiz is still in progress, and either they're working on it, and that's kind of tragic, and you're like, hey, like let's get this finished up, or they just, I'm doing English now, like I'm doing math now, this is not going well. So I think that element of choice is a lot easier to have online, I found. And again, that's kind of an expectation of our school is, we can offer students different ways to show their knowledge of things. And I would love to get into our online classroom with any student and say, hey, let's talk through this one, or let's do a kind of Google Slides presentation through this one.
I really tried hard to, the first start of it all, just building that relationship. And when you do get them, make it engaging and fun and inviting. after that meet the teacher session, the next session might just be a fun little bingo game or Kahoot game. I mean, there's so many things of getting to know your classmates or something that's just non-threatening. And then once we can kind of, that relationship's established, and then it's, once we do meet, I try to find, those live sessions, I try to make them very engaging, and again, but safe. So you have, especially I teach math, and I feel like math sometimes, they're so hesitant to mess up, or they're scared to make a mistake. And so I try to just invite them, and if they feel comfortable, they can work on the board. We have opportunity where they can work on the board. They have opportunity, they can share their thinking. But I try to make the activities engaging and kind of a variety. So I keep the lesson kind of moving. Like we might do a little bit of review at the beginning. I might do some direct instruction. We might do some work on the board. We might do some problem solving or brain teaser at the end, but nothing where they're just sitting and watching me.
And you talk several times about having a safe space for them to share. What do you mean by safe?
I really stress at the beginning of our sessions, just we're so glad everybody's here. Let's remember we're going to be respectful of everybody. We're going to be each other's cheerleaders. Remember, in math, sometimes it can be scary if we're not really sure if our answer is right. So let's all be willing to take a risk. And if we mess up, that's okay. If our answer is not correct, that's okay. We're all here to support and cheer each other on and grow and learn. So again, creating that environment where they're willing to try, especially, like I said, in math more so probably than other subjects, because especially if they have had a negative experience of some sort, or they know they're below grade level, not much growth is going to happen if they're not actively participating. I always say, if you want to turn your camera on, you can. If you want to leave it off, you can. I do ask them, like, participate in some manner, whether it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, whether it's a quick chat to me. And then I'll even tell them, if you don't want to chat to the class, you can chat to me privately. And then, I'll of course chat back to them. So of course, it's just building up. And I find eventually they'll kind of, if they're kind of reluctant or hesitant, they will eventually kind of want to participate in the whole class. And I find with small group, I probably get more participation because it is not so intimidating, and usually it's targeted their level. But in science, like I do some science classes where it is larger, I try to, again, open up for discussion. We might watch a quick little video and ask what they thought. I show them some experiments, and again, just a variety of activities, a variety of choice of how they can participate, I think helps them want to then come back the next time.
Something that I just started this year that turned out to be more successful than I thought is every week I always put up a new announcement in my classroom, just to let kids know if there's any changes to my schedules, like where they should be working in the class, just any information like that. It's very easy for kids to not even look at that and to just close it and move on. So this year I started putting riddles in them. So the very first thing they see in my weekly announcement is a riddle. And then when they get to the bottom of it, I've made a recording, again, building relationships. Instead of just giving them the answer, I record myself reading the riddle and then giving them the answer to it. One week, I think it was like at midterm when we were getting a whole bunch of new students, and like my schedule hadn't really changed. I didn't get my new announcement put up on Monday, and I had a student email me. He's like, "Hey, where's my riddle? I need my riddle."
Okay.
Yes. Another thing I do is the way our classroom is set up, I can have an automatic email sent so that if a student hasn't logged into my class in 7 days, they get an email. And I make sure the tone of that email isn't accusatory, isn't, "Why haven't you logged in?" It's like, "Hey, I noticed you haven't logged in. What can I do to help you? Why aren't you logging in? Let's problem solve this together and get you back on track." So that's something that is automatically set up. I have badges in my class, so as a student completes a block, they earn a badge that resides in the online classroom. I know that's like something that's featured in lots of games and things like that. It wouldn't be motivating to me, but maybe it is to some students. And again, when they finish a block, they get an email from me. Again, this has been automatically generated because our program will allow us to do that. It also contains a riddle. But this comes in an email to the student, and it's just telling them, hey, congratulations, this is what you're going to be looking forward to in the next block. And many times students will use that email that's come with a riddle just as a way of making contact with me, because they can easily reply to it. And I would say that going back to building relationships, another thing to do if you're working, mainly online, is to send all the kids an email, so that even if they're not very tech savvy, they can just find their email and open the one from you. Most of them can do a reply to be able to communicate back to you. Like starting a new email and being able to put your name in can be a struggle.
Right.
But reach out to them first. At least they have that email sitting in there. And like I said, I've got the announcements and then regular emails from me coming to the students, so that I'm always initiating contact with them. Another thing I do is I track kids' progress. I keep a spreadsheet with all my students on it. We don't have a traditional grade book, it's all online. But I keep a spreadsheet so I can see when kids are completing their blocks of work, because that's how our classrooms are set up. And I can notice, like, oh, they did really well and then they haven't done anything for 2 weeks. Let me go in and, reach out to them again. And don't be afraid to reach out to parents. And again, you need to reach out with the correct tone. Hey, I noticed that they haven't been doing any math. Can you remind your student that I'm here to help? If there's anything that they need, that's why I'm here. I'm here to, assist the student. Please, remind them of that.
We hope the tips and tricks you heard today really help you. Our suggestion is to get together with colleagues, take some time to reflect, and think about how these things can help you as you're teaching online.